So it's going live now, Kristen.
Okay.
You want to check it out?
Okay.
All right.
Scott waiting to get in. Dwayne.
So going live now, Kristen.
Okay.
You want to check it out?
Okay.
Going live now, Kristen.
Okay.
You want to check it out? All right, so you're gonna have to turn that video down. It's gonna. I gotta turn mine down too.
We'll
I
get
am.
it. Oh wow. Oh, it's the phone cord.
But
You think it's the phone doing that?
I think it is.
invite, yeah,
I just have to
yeah. No, just mute the mute yourself, Barry. Mute your on Zoom.
And seeing all your right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're good. Yep. Mute your phone and then unmute the that. So cause you'll be busy, you won't be able to interact with us then anyway. Yeah, go ahead. Dwayne, let Jamie in. Yeah. Yep. So gotta unmute them. Kristen's on. Yeah.
Are we 6 feet apart?
I know. I was gonna say
Go
that.
back up over here off screen.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hey, Mark. What's happening? I just get my last bite of dinner here.
Okay.
My camera's not working, boy.
Who?
Angela, you might
Not
have,
working?
they're only gonna see half of you.
That's okay, it's me.
They wanna see your whole face.
That's the only thing that's on me is not fair. And that's you, Bob.
You sit in the front.
Okay.
Hey, Coy, do you have us muted?
No, I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, I see M Oxford, I guess it's, no, it's a Max, I don't know.
That's Mike Axford.
Mike Axford.
Okay, so he's waiting.
Wiggle the mouse around, see if you get the controls to come up just in case. Okay, there we go.
Yep.
So at the top is speaker view,
Mm-hmm.
and we can toggle to the others. And then down at the bottom, if we need to mute, if we had some strange road noise or something.
Why don't you let you play with those while she's paying attention to?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Lightning switch,
Well, you can, once it starts, you can also put the mouse down here on this side of you, and then you and I can, we'll try to tag team on that. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Pete, so we can.
Coy,
Yes,
What you do with my L?
The L must have got lost.
I think it did.
Just to let everybody know, we're live. Well, I started the live stream already, so
Okay.
just to make sure. I think she muted herself.
Flag, see, we'll stand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I like Dan's stuff truck.
Yeah, he's got his- that was back in. Did you know he was a fighter pilot?
Yes.
I was down there the other day and
There, and back. If I'm the business, before I see business.
Hello.
Hello? You need to start your video, and we are being recorded right now. Coy has got us live.
Cedric's talking away and he's on mute.
All right.
Commissioner Jones is on mute right now.
Mr. Bunn, how are you tonight?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Mr. Speed?
Doing good. How about you?
Doing very well, sir. I hope you are. You there, Mr. Floyd? Mr. Shriver? How are you?
Doing
tonight?
well, sir. How about you?
Doing well, thank you. Good to see you. Mr. Jones, good to see you.
Fine. Good to see you all.
Yes, sir. Good to see you. Ms. Dixon? Ms. Dixon, are you with us?
I'm here. How are y'all?
Oh, excellent. How are you tonight?
Good.
That's good. And staff?
We're doing
Yes,
well.
we're good.
Everybody well?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Williams?
I'm doing fine, sir.
All right, very good. Mr. Foy, how are you, sir?
Doing good. You?
Doing well, thank you. Well, this is a historical moment in the history of Franklin County. This will be a first for us. I don't know if anyone else can remember us ever meeting like this. Mr. Ford would be you. I don't think you remember this meeting on Zoom, do you? I guess you, Mr. Foy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you don't ever remember us meeting like this before, do you?
No, never have.
Okay. This is a historical moment then. This will go down in history of Franklin County. It's been a first, April the 20th, 2020.
And at 8:20, it will be 2020 for 2020.
Very good.
How do we get a really nice backdrop like Dan has done?
I know, isn't that cool?
Are you really in Franklin County, Dan?
Oh, that's Lake Royale right there in the background.
Sure it is. Now you can see me better.
Yes, sir. Everybody's showing up well tonight.
Shelley's a little dark.
A little bit.
That better?
Oh,
Mhm.
you got the light behind you.
Probably
Everybody's got
does
the
these-
light on.
Terry probably does these like calls all the time, but yeah, it's really the way to communicate.
She was just lying.
Don't you think that makes sense? That way I don't accidentally show something I shouldn't show. It was okay.
Since he's on.
Mr. Shriver, you prepared to lead us in prayer?
Yes, sir. Whenever you're ready.
All right.
Thank you for asking me, though.
Yes, sir. Ms. Levine, how are you tonight, sir?
Very well. How are you? Caught me in mid-munch.
Okay,
I apologize.
it's no problem. Thank you for the great job that you're doing.
Thank you.
Realize it's a trying time for you.
Absolutely.
He's got a tough time.
All right. I've got 6:55. Is that about where everybody is? Is everybody here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right, for those of you who will, we ask that you would join with Mrs. Shriver as you return blessings for us tonight.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let us all bow our heads. Lord, precious God, we pause in this very moment in time, Lord, where there's so much uncertainty, but yet you are certain. Lord, we thank you for the energy and the will that you've put into our bodies, Lord, for the experience you've surrounded us with, Lord, and for all those that have worked so diligently to keep us safe in the prior days. Lord, we just ask you continue to undergird them. Lord, you give them wisdom and strength, and Lord, that you continue to support us as we move forward in this time. Lord, tonight we bring a special request of blessing upon this meeting. Lord, we ask that it move very seamlessly. Lord, that the technology that's been put into place work well. And Lord, most of all, the work that we do will bring not only honor and glory unto you, Lord, but the work that we do will be the work of the people. For this I ask in Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Ask if you will to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Our county attorney has asked that the board remove the convening of the Board of E&R from the consent agenda. Therefore, we will, as we open our regular meeting, we want to recess our regular meeting and then convene our Board of E&R. And after that convening, we will ask Dan Williams to indeed to make comments, and then we'll reconvene our regular meeting. We get a motion now to recess our regular meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Speed, seconded by Commissioner Bunn, I believe.
Yes.
Any questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Shelley, did you have your hand?
No, I don't know if you want to see the hand or just say,
Okay. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and so ordered. All right, get a motion to call the Franklin County Board of E&R to order.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in proper second, moved by Mr. Speed, seconded by Mr. Bunn. Any questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and so ordered. Mr. Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This meets the statutory requirement of convening the Board of Equalization Review in April of a non-revaluation year. At this time, we are currently working just over a dozen open appeals to the Board of E&R, and we will continue to accept appeals and work appeals up until the adjournment of the Board of Equalization Review. For this year, we are planning to adjourn the Franklin County Board of Equalization Review on the first meeting of the regular commissioners meeting in May. And we will continue to work, and the board will hear any open business that had not been resolved as of that date. At this time, I would request, unless there are any questions, that we go ahead and recess the 2020 Board of Equalization Review until its next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Was that moved by Mr. Shriver, second by Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Any questions from anyone?
I have a question. When are we going to be meeting to hear these appeals?
Sir, we will meet those appeals, if any are left to be heard, at a point in the future when we can either convene the board electronically as a Board of E&R, or where we have permission to gather enough people in a public meeting to hear the business that was still accepted prior to the adjournment of the Board of E&R.
Any other questions? No other questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and it's so ordered. We will now entertain a motion to return into our open session.
So moved.
I'm sorry, say again, who made that motion?
I'll second Mr. Speed's motion.
Okay, Mr. Speed made the motion. Mr. Shriver has seconded Mr. Speed's motion. Are there any questions? No questions. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and it's so ordered. Now that we are back into our regular session, I'm going to ask that in light of the conditions that we are meeting under, and for the reasons why we are meeting under these conditions, which is indeed is a first for Franklin County. This is a historical moment in meeting by telephonically or via Zoom. And for the reason of that, and for the lives that have been lost in this country and around the world as a result of the conditions that we're living under, I'm going to ask that you would bow for a moment of silence. Thank you very much. First item on our agenda is our consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for
Move to
approval.
approve. Second.
Moved by Mr. Jones, I believe, and second by Mr. Shriver. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Then the questions? No questions. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Our second item on our agenda is comments from the public. This is a time to set aside by the board to allow individuals to address the board on issues concerning the county. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, before I begin, can everyone hear my audio clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have several comments that have been submitted tonight, all via email, so I'll read those now. Give me just one second. Okay, our first comments come from Fran Spinola at 184 Mort Harris Road in Lewisburg. I'm urging you to send a letter to Governor Cooper requesting he does not extend his stay-at-home order and that future decision-making regarding COVID-19 and the reopening of businesses and restaurants be granted to you at the local level. I'm aware of 2 counties, Gaston and Lincoln, which have already made such a request. And Fran provided a link from WBTV.com that I'll share with the board afterward. Governor Cooper held a press conference on April 15th outlining 3 criteria for easing restrictions: testing, better tracing, and improving trends, which take time. He also indicated he expects a vaccine will not be available for another year. His comments lead me to suspect he will do little to reopen our state on April 30th. This worries me very much. We're heading towards an economic disaster. Our businesses and workers are suffering. As leaders at the local level, you are most familiar with the needs of your communities are in a better position than the governor to decide when to reopen. Even with President Trump's 3-phase plan to reopen the country, I fear Governor Cooper will make few changes. I heard a report today saying the peak of COVID-19 cases in North Carolina is not expected until June. Also, for your information, I'm retired and my life hasn't changed much since the pandemic. However, I'm a very concerned citizen. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
The second comment that we have comes from John Edwards at 101 Lake Royale, Lewisburg. Dear Commissioners, County Manager, and staff, since 2012, when Harris Communications launched their $11 million radio system in our county, there has been endless complaints by law enforcement, rescue, and other county agencies about distorted, garbled sound, as well as getting no signal at all. During these 8 years, Harris Communications keeps trying to patch up their radio system, but the results have not been good for the most part. Now there is a request on tonight's agenda, item 6, to extend yet another deadline for Harris Communications to continue trying to fix the system. When will this boondoggle end? I disagree on another extension and urge the commissioners to take action and tell Harris Communications they will get no more extensions. Commissioners, most of you have expressed disdain with how slow Harris Communications has been trying to patch up their radio system. I would support the county suing Harris Communications for the amount of $11 million. They have been nothing but a money pit for the county's taxpayers. Meanwhile, in my opinion, the county should work with other counties in our state who have a better radio system and consider an alternative radio system to replace Harris Communications' defunct system.
Thank you.
These comments come from Sid Reynolds at 434 Moore Perkison Road in Spring Hope. It is my understanding that the topic of emergency communications will once again be on your agenda. As a citizen of Franklin County, I am aware of the recurring issues and multiple extensions related to the county's contract with its current emergency radio services provider. May I encourage commissioners to ask relevant questions of the county manager, such as, number 1, has the contractor managed services in alignment with the contract? If not, how many times has an incident been reported by an emergency services entity? Of those reported, what percentage of those have been reviewed by county officials in charge of contract oversight? Number 2, has the contractor adhered to the timelines specified within the contract? Number 3, has the contractor met the contractual delivery requirements? And if not, has the contractor corrected the issue within a period of time that was agreed upon by the county and the contractor? Number 4, have the supplies met requirements of the contract? Number 5, have the services met requirements of the contract? Number 6, how many unofficial concerns and complaints has any county management employee received from emergency responders and others who use the equipment? Number 7, has the contractor been consistently responsive, professional, and courteous? Number 8 are the technical experts highly qualified and effective in performing the required services. Number 9 are the appropriate number of contracted professionals assigned to this project. Number 10, how long has corrective action taken per reported incident? Number 11, what is the total delay time logged since the beginning of the contract service period as a result of the radios working improperly? And lastly, number 12, has there been loss of life, loss of property reported during an incident when the equipment wasn't functioning? If so, what are those numbers? It seems it's time to consider this contract based on total number of successful outcomes and deliverables, expenses and performance compared to adjacent counties, cost adherence versus cost savings, including county staff time, broadbanded cost, and continuing asset service reliability. Thank you for your service to all of us.
Thank you.
Our next comment comes from Frank Winstead of Pinecroft Subdivision in Youngsville. And he asked, is there a county regulation requiring unelected paid county government decision makers to actually live in Franklin County? If not, when can one be put into effect?
Thank you.
Our next comments are a bit lengthy. They come from Bob Palenko at 8804 Albright Road in Raleigh. Mr. Palenko says he is the development manager of Essex mixed-use project located in Franklinton on US Highway 1. Essex best returns for Franklin County. Nestled between South Cheatham Street and US 1A Main Street and fronting US Highway 1 in Franklinton is Essex, a 125-acre mixed-use community destined to become the town of Franklinton's marketing flag on the highway at its entrance. With the Essex Place portion nearing completion, we plan to open 2 new projects that will bring the total residential lot count to 294. We also have 41.54 acres of land fronting US Highway 1 proposed for commercial use. In the last couple of months, we have seen more inquiries on the commercial lands than we have ever seen since the project's inception. One inquiry was a new car dealer that would bring 150 jobs. On the residential side, the Essex Place, an 87-lot single-family homes component, has enjoyed stellar sales performance, introducing more new residents to the town at a higher average sales price than any other project. In order to improve the marketability of the commercial parcels and prepare the residential land for the construction of the remaining 207 lots, we are less than a month away from starting a $1.4 million mass grading project and installing a sewer pump station projected to cost an additional $500,000. This is a huge upfront commitment that will require a revenue stream from both the commercial as well as the residential sides of the project to service the loans that make this project possible. Our bank recently approved the grading loan because they believe in the potential of the area, its highway fronting location, and this project. This approval is contingent on our ability to create the 2 revenue streams. The 2 sides of this project are symbiotic, and that no one side can be constructed alone, marketed alone, or reach the maximum revenue return for the local governments alone. The whole project needs a commitment from local leaders to perform to its optimum for our bankers, as well as the local governments and its citizens. The southern commercial land lays too high and is laden with solid rock, yet this rock, when processed, will provide the fill needed for the residential component on the southeastern quadrant and fill the northwestern commercial quadrant, making it marketable. This is truly a mixed-use community, not only in how it will perform when completed, but also in how it must be constructed, thus forcing huge upfront financial outlays. The current water allocation system, where water resources are allocated from 2 buckets, one being the much larger commercial bucket and the second being a smaller residential bucket, does not work for a mixed-use project. Serving those that come first rather than serving the projects that provide the best opportunity for revenue returns for the county's investment of its scarce water resource. Essex was the only mixed-use project annexed into a town seeking water from the residential bucket that also had job growth that had a job growth component included from the list of those seeking allocations at the UAC meeting. We have been a strong financial supporter of the community since we agreed in 2009 for Essex to be annexed into the town of Franklinton at the town's request. We have paid almost $170,000 in taxes to the town for the promise the project would have water and sewer when it was time to build. This promise went away when the county purchased the assets of the town's utilities department and chose not to accept the liabilities, but the taxes paid since have remained very real. A county official once told me, revenue generated from residential development does not cover the cost of delivering government services. The difference is made up from revenue provided by commercial development. Essex was the only project seeking water allocation which had both components given its mixed-use design. Essex Village is a project that will have 96 single-family homes with a garage, and Essex Towns will have 111 townhouses with a garage. What is needed to make this project work is 50 taps for each of the 2 projects this year and next, then just 7 taps the 3rd year. We have always realized the value this project brings to the county and town given its mixed-use design. We have always preferred to work within your water allocation system as it is necessary given the lack of this scarce resource. We have always chosen to work with the county in the cooperative manner we always have. The completion of this project at the town's front door is a beacon to the world that Franklinton is primed for growth and its next chapter. Its completion will give town leaders something very positive to point to as they work to improve investments in the downtown area and attract new businesses to spur job growth. Essex provides a unique opportunity where when the county's scarce water resources are invested, it gets more than just another residential rooftop. It gets stronger revenue returns, business and job growth, and a powerful marketing tool for the town as well as the county. Our next comments come from Scott Strickland from 40 Sheila's Lane in Lewisburg. And Scott writes, the radio system is still not up to par. The paging is not working like it's supposed to. Radios are still going in and out of CC scan, and it's unacceptable. Mr. Strickland says he would like to know why we would even consider giving them extra time to work on this radio system when they've had ample time to fix the system. Everything you've asked them to do, they've done the opposite after giving them a letter and requesting them to fix our emergency service radio system that we purchased from Harris. And from listening and seeing the system work, it has not gotten any better. You still hear dispatch asking the trucks to repeat themselves because the radio is cutting in and out or so garbled you just can't hear them. In some cases, they had to send trucks and deputies out to check on the truck that was on the scene because they could not get radio to work because it was in CC scan. This information comes from individuals that are paid staff within Franklin County. I think it's time that we move forward and look for a better solution, like using Viper before someone ends up getting hurt with this radio system that is not working and up to par. The engineer even quoted that it only works 50% of the time. We just can't take that risk anymore. We are putting our personnel in bad situations with this system when they need help, and they need help. They don't need to have to keep repeating themselves. Sometimes they may not even have to do that if the situation is really bad. Law enforcement, fire, and rescue deserve a much better working radio system.
Thank you.
And our final comment comes from Dwight Neal, 1322 Hickory Rock Road in Lewisburg. And he writes, I would like to thank all of the EMS, fire department, health department, school, and cafeteria employees of Franklin County. We truly appreciate you stepping up to help the kids and citizens of Franklin County. Also, I would hope that everyone would pray for these workers, the workers at hospitals and the rest homes, and all of those that have been affected by the coronavirus and the families who have lost their loved ones. Also, I hope the public broadcast of this meeting goes well and that it will become the standard for county meetings in the future. And lastly, please do what you can to remedy the poor emergency radio fiasco and internet service that affects so many, especially in rural areas. And those are all the comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Well, thank all of the citizens for the comments that they shared, and we will certainly take those under advisement. Item number 3 on our agenda is an update on COVID-19, and we're happy to have Dr. Scott Levine. Thank you again, Dr. Levine, for the great work that you're doing in these challenging times.
Well, thank you. I'm here in dual roles tonight. I get to update everybody as the health director and as the public information officer for the Franklin County COVID-19 Emergency Operations Center, which I am sitting in right now. It's also our health department boardroom, but it's been co-opted as the Emergency Operations Center for the duration of this virus. So I'm just going to provide you as quickly as I can, because it seems like a lifetime since the last time I've spoken to you all. Just to update you on what the Emergency Operations Center, or the EOC, has been doing. I'm going to start off with talking about current case numbers. Right now, we currently have 71 confirmed positive cases, and that will definitely increase tomorrow, as there have been 2 more community-based transmissions and some additional transmissions at the Lewisburg Nursing Center. Regarding that Lewisburg Nursing Center, we have now 11 confirmed COVID-19 related deaths. The virus is currently, I'm sorry?
You're good, go ahead.
Okay, very good. The virus is currently test confirmed in 93 counties in North Carolina. So there's only 7 counties that have not test confirmed the virus presence. Just a word about what confirmed cases actually means. It is not equivalent to the prevalence of the virus in the community. We know far more people have had the virus in Franklin County that are reflected in those relatively small number of folks that have tested positive. This is primarily due to the CDC and North Carolina guidance, which has required health providers for several weeks to inform all of their patients, except the most sick, that if they have symptoms, they should stay at home, do not get a test. And if your symptoms get worse, then we will test you. So, you know, since we don't collect numbers on suspected COVID-19 cases, such as the ones I just described, we know there are way more people that are probably flying under the radar and than just those that we found in the number of people that are receiving a positive test result. So moving into some upcoming COVID-19 initiatives, I think one of the people that wrote in talked about Governor Cooper's initiative for testing, tracing, and trending. Testing is going to receive a lot of focus. As a matter of fact, there is a surge testing capacity task force that the governor has launched. If we're going to really know who has the virus and how significant an impact it's currently can make, we have to do far more testing, and with that testing will come tracing of those individuals and all of whom they may have come into contact with. The last piece will be on trending all of those results. So there's still a lot more work to be done before we can realize that initiative. The other thing that's going on, obviously, across the state is congregate care outbreaks, most notably in nursing homes. There is an initiative that was launched by Chatham County Health Department, and we have joined that group of that health department and at least 13 up to 18 other county health departments that have outbreaks in their community, along with staff from Duke and UNC, to develop better ways of monitoring and preventing, and if necessary, better managing outbreaks in long-term care facilities. So that's kind of what's going on across the state. And now I'm going to break it down locally, what we've been doing in the Emergency Operations Center. We have been planning for the worst. While we always hope for the best, we always have to plan for the worst when it comes to an emergency. And with that in mind, one of the first tasks that the EOC undertook was to develop an action plan for our worst case scenario here in Franklin County. And that included projections for the maximum virus penetration into the county, coupled with our county's documented poor health and older average age than other counties, and our county's lack of consistent adherence to the governor's executive orders and our county's curfew. Our planning has addressed the possible need for additional in-county hospital beds, site locations for pop-up hospitals, staffing for increased in-county hospital beds, area hospitals, regular and surge bed capacity and the number of ventilators they have, and in-county body storage capacity and ways to increase that capacity. When I said we were planning for the worst, we are planning for the worst, and we hope we never have to realize those plans. But that was our first task. The other thing that we've been doing is advising facilities. The EOC, especially our epidemiology section chief, Miranda Stallings, has been busy working with our skilled nursing facilities and assisted living providers in the county. She's been doing that for quite a while. And unfortunately, because of the outbreak, which I'll talk about a little bit down the road here at Lewisburg Nursing Center, we've had to up our ante. So what we started this week, we just launched it today, is our congregate care facility outreach program. In addition to the guidance we've already been providing skilled nursing facilities today, we are increasing our outreach efforts to include all the nursing homes in Franklin County to individually make sure that each one of those facilities has the latest guidance and the PPE they need, that's the personal protective equipment that they need to effectively prevent the COVID-19 outbreak, and if necessary, to manage an outbreak should one occur. These are not regulatory meetings. We're not looking to ding anyone. Our sole purpose is to ensure that Franklin County's COVID-19 EOC footprint in nursing homes is effectively managed, and that we can effectively advocate for those facilities to receive the training, the PPE, and the staffing they need to make that impact of COVID-19 as low as possible. And that leads me to the nursing center. One of our tasks has been helping to mitigate any COVID-19 outbreaks that might occur, obviously in the long-term care facilities. And as most of you have heard already, the Lewisburg Nursing Center is in the midst of an outbreak. Thus far, it's claimed the lives of 11 of their 61 residents. We are working with them daily to ensure that we can provide anything that they need. They have stepped up when this initially happened and tested all of their residents and all of their staff. They did that in a very quick manner. Unfortunately, this situation has continued to evolve, and we are doing everything we can to help them contain it. And unfortunately, I'm sure there's going to be more updates about the outbreak there, but I'm hopeful that soon, though, that outbreak news will be good news. In terms of PPE and staff shortages, working with our EOC operations chief, Jeff Bright, and our logistics chief, Tina Sweet, those two have been working with our web EOC and the state to address shortages in critical personal, boy, that's a mouthful, critical personal protective equipment. Wow, step out of the car, sir. And to address the staffing issues at some facilities. And it looks like I just got bumped.
Are you good?
Okay, very good. Looks like it just clicked off. So, all right, very good. If you can see me, then that's all that matters. So let's see. To address the shortages in that PPE and staffing issues at some facilities that are more affected by the virus spread, the National Guard has already delivered critical PPE, and mostly those are masks at this point, to Franklin County EMS. Additionally, our liaison officer, Angela Harris, has worked to secure additional sanitizer for county operations. On the virus spread, we've been providing the county with vital information regarding the spread of the virus in Franklin County and discuss why we all need to critically assess the numbers that are presented through the state's website. And you'll notice in a lot of the press releases that go out, we take careful point to reference the state site and to encourage people to be good consumers of that information. When reviewing and reporting new numbers, because of our decreased emphasis on testing, as I've talked about, we are now looking at the number of EMS calls that appear to be virus related and the number of confirmed virus related deaths as our new measures, since the state does not provide us with county of origin specific COVID-19 hospitalization numbers. We can get the overall numbers of hospitalizations for the state, but we can't get county specific data yet. The other thing we've been doing is keeping everyone informed. We set up our center's phone line. That was set up before the EOC went live. That number is 919-496-8113. We're responding to anywhere from 25 to 35 calls a day at that center. We also have an email address that was set up. We're responding to, on average, 2 to up to 10 emails a day over a variety of topics. We also made a video, which I made and sent out and posted on our Facebook page for the health department. That video has now had over 9,000 views. So I'm very pleased and hopeful that that message went out to as many Franklin County residents as possible. We are trying to respond to a large number of questions. They're coming from businesses, nonprofit agencies, local elected officials, and county departments.
Where's Franklin County's Facebook page?
I don't know about a Facebook page for Franklin County. I know that we post information on the county website, and we reference the Facebook page. And I know that we've had we've doubled the size of the number of people that have linked to our page. And I think we've actually tripled the number of people that are liking our page. So we've had a good impact with that. And I can't speak to the county. I can just speak to the health department's page. A lot of the questions relate to testing, personal protective equipment, and employee safety. We've also fielded a number of questions related to the county curfew, related to restaurants, people gathering, and things along those lines, and have worked very closely with our safety officers, Sheriff Winstead, and his alternate safety officer, Terry Wright. And we continue to man that information center. Regarding the county curfew, working with our Board of Commissioners chair and the county manager, the EOC has reached out to local officials to increase the level of social distancing in Franklin County and to improve our opportunity for decreasing the virus spread in the county, and the county curfew is a part of that measure. The last thing that I'll tell everyone is that we're having weekly full EOC meetings. Those meetings occur once per week. The EOC members are the incident commanders, and we rotate that responsibility. That is between myself, Tina Sweet, Lauren Pace, and Jeff Bright. I am the public information officer, as I've mentioned. The safety officer is Kent Winstead and Terry Wright. Liaison officer is Angela Harris and Kim Denton. Our epidemiology section chief is Miranda Stallings. She's our communicable disease nurse. Logistics section chief is Tina Sweet. Planning section chief is Lauren Pace and Joyce Barnes. Operations section chief is Jeff Bright and Missy Johnson. And finance is Jamie Holtzman and Maddie May. I also have to recognize Lauren Pace for maintaining our Facebook page. She's done a phenomenal job of doing that. So as you can tell, the EOC has been very busy and actively working to address the impact of COVID-19 in Franklin County. And we're going to remain open and working for the county until this crisis ends. So with that, are there any questions?
I have one.
Is that Mr. Schreiber?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Levine, my question leans more towards what you may feel is the cause and effect of the implementation of the curfew here in Franklin County.
In terms of, you mean what is the impact of the curfew?
Correct. How much of an impact do you feel having the curfew has led to the ability for us to contain or to alleviate the spread of this virus as far as an overall contributor?
Right. At this point, I think it's kind of early to assess that. I can tell you that based on the overall level of compliance, that simple observation afforded everyone who cared to look. There was an overall lack of compliance with the executive orders. So, regarding the gathering sizes and people gathering in various places around restaurants and various other places. So I can't really speak to the efficacy of it at this point. We are going to start to assess as best we can what kind of impact that's had. We're going to have at our next meeting of the EOC, we hope we'll be able to get some more input from the sheriff in terms of anything that he may have seen. We will also probably have an outreach effort to some of the local police departments to see what their thoughts are on this as well. Our hope was never to make this a police matter. At least mine wasn't. You know, anything that I do and anything that I support is purely related to public health. And if there was a way that people in the middle who just needed a little extra nudge to recognize the importance of this, if they would comply by staying away from others who don't live in their house through those hours in particular, then it would be well worth it. The virus is so highly contagious that the more people congregate, the more likely it is to spread. And the more people that are vulnerable will get sick. And unfortunately, the larger number of them will die. And that's why we implemented this effort in the first place. I don't want our worst case scenario to come up. So I'm not sure that we'll be able to get metrics that'll completely satisfy everyone in terms of how efficacious it was. And it is. I won't be able to probably provide something that will be consistently accepted from everyone, but we are looking at that.
Do you feel that the curfews are really more effective in more populated areas where you've got a lot of more urban settings, more foot traffic, where people use a lot more public places, they have a public means of transportation, things of that area?
Well, I mean, I can tell you that people congregate in a variety of different places, and in larger populated areas, you're more likely to see them. You're less likely to see them in a rural area where people are spread out over further areas. But the number of gatherings that occur in backyards, the number of gatherings that occur at various places like hardware stores, they're impromptu, they're not organized, and they appear to be just people passing each other. But very quickly they evolve into people socializing with each other. You know, one of the things that we saw last week when they had the prayer vigil, which I fully supported and I thought was a great effort. One of the things we saw is, despite the best efforts to keep people separated from each other, we saw in the video multiple people getting out of cars and bending and sitting and kneeling over flowers that had just been laid there from other people that didn't live in their house. That sets them up. Unmasked people doing that. And so these are things that we don't think about. We don't think about just saying hey to somebody at the mailbox. You know, there are impromptu gatherings that occur. A lot of these aren't going to occur in a public place where people are going to be readily observed. And so we really want the message to get out to everyone that we're not looking to enforce, we're looking for people to do the right thing here. And that's to stay away from each other as much as you possibly can.
Right. Are you speaking to the gathering that occurred there at 401 Highway where the death of the 3 young people were?
I went past that on my way home that night, and it filled me with sadness for the loss of life that occurred there. And it filled me with even more sadness for the number of people that were potentially exposing themselves by virtue of hanging there and honoring those people that had died. And I thought, what an ultimate tragedy this would be if even one of those people ended up contracting the virus and dying, honoring people who had lost their life. So yes, that's one area for sure.
But that was the actual gathering you were referencing to, is what I was, because I was there. That's why I asked if that was the one you were speaking to.
That's one of them. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it, Scott.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Thank you again, Mr. Levine, for your report, and we appreciate all that you do.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Item number 4 on our agenda is installment financing for vehicle and equipment.
Let me see if my slideshow will share. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Vehicle and equipment financed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Is that
Okay.
right? Everybody see it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
The Franklin County Board of Commissioners in the 2019-2020 budget approved the purchase of 2 2019 Dodge ambulances with stretchers for the EMS, 13 2019 Dodge Chargers with equipment packages, 12 for the sheriff and 1 for the jail, 16 of the Locust chest compression systems from the EMS, a 2019 Chevrolet Silverado for the inspections, a 2019 Ford Fusion for the health department, and a 2020 Ford Escape for DSS. All of these vehicles were to be financed. The total amount to be financed is $1,202,663. The term is for 4 years and the payment is once a year, like we've done in the past. The timeline for the financing was in March the 19th, the county sent the request for proposals to 14 financial institutions. On April the 1st, the county received responses to requests for proposals from 4 different institutions. On April the 20th, the Board of Commissioners hopefully will adopt the resolution approving the financing and the documentation thereto. And on May 1st, the county closes on the installment financing. As you can see, this is our bid tab. With First Citizens coming in with the lowest interest rate of 1.75 and 0% closing costs for the total financing cost of $53,072. It is my recommendation that the board, hold on one second, I apologize. Request for the Franklin County Board of Commissioners to award the vehicle financing in the amount of the $1,202,663 to First Citizens Bank and Trust at the interest rate of 1.75% for the term of 4 years, and that the county manager and the finance director to execute and deliver the required closing documents. In addition, adopt the resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of an installment financing agreement, a security agreement, and related documents in connection with the financing of various vehicles and equipment for the county of Franklin, North Carolina. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? No questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
That motion was made by who?
I spoke up, sir. Schreiber.
Mr. Schreiber?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Speed, second. Any other questions? No other questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Thank you so much, Ms. Holzman.
Thank you.
Item 5 on the agenda is the update early college high school program. County Manager Angela Harris will provide an update on the way to relocate the program to the Vance Granville Community College, Franklin County campus.
Yes, sir. It's hard to believe, but our early college high school program is in its 10th year. When we first started the early college high school program, the county agreed to purchase a modular, and with hopes that this would be temporary housing and we would move the program onto the satellite campus in Lewisburg of Vance Granville Community College. As everyone knows, we've been very successful with this program. In fact, we have 192 students today. Unfortunately, over 50% of those students who would like to participate cannot because of program constraints. But our public school superintendent, Rhonda Shula, and president of the community college, Rachel Damaris, have worked together to identify a solution so that we can move that program and those students onto the campus. Specifically, Building 5, the newest building, is a building that has been identified for the students to relocate. If all the details are worked out to the satisfaction of the Board of Commissioners, Community College, Board of Trustees, and our Board of Ed, the plan is to hopefully have those students relocated as early as this fall. At this juncture, the good news is the two entities would be able to do that within their respective budgets. So that's good. The staff that are in Building 5 would relocate to our modular. You might say, well, all of that sounds very positive, Angela. Well, and it is. I think that from the very beginning, we have wanted to have those students as a part of the college campus and part of that environment. the Board of Trustees with Vance Gravel Community College in February, in fact, February 25th, 24th, voted to move forward with this with certain conditions. They'd like to be able to lease the modular for a period up to 5 years, but once we come into an agreement with them, within 1 year, they want the county to have plans for construction to expand facilities there on the community college campus so that they can have their staff return back to the campus and to be able to expand, particularly in programs like bioprocessing, agriculture, and emergency services. So they're willing to have some of their staff come to the modular, and we actually be able to have the early college program on the campus as early as this fall. But again, they do want us to begin the serious planning of construction, and within a 5-year period to have construction completed and to be able to have their staff back on the main campus and have some expansion room for the programs that I've named. Dr. Schuler and I believe Dr. Damaris will be either virtually in attendance or present, depending on how our May 4th meeting goes, to talk with you further. But I think that's very positive news. They have worked jointly to come up with a plan that does not cost additional money. They're going to work with the budgets that they have. And hopefully at the May 4th meeting that we'll have all the answers to the questions that you may have. But I wanted to go ahead and put that out there tonight to let you know that there's been a lot of work underway, and hopefully we'll be able not only to relocate the program, but to be able to add the students that would like very much to be a part of the early college high school experience.
All right, any questions?
Yes, sir. I have one.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Ford.
Yes, if you're moving the early college school over to the community college, is that going to put them in a bind for space, or they got a lot of space extra?
They would actually be vacating an 11,000 square foot modular, move into a 20,000 square foot building. So that's going to give us room to grow the early college program. But we're going to have, they will lease the modular unit that we have our students in for some of their staff. They will move some staff around there on the campus, and some of the staff will move into the modular. So they are moving some staff around and will occupy the 11,000 square foot modular. This is temporary, up to 5 years is what the goal would be, for them to have expanded space to add on to Building 5, or to have an expansion of construction there on the campus so that they can move back on campus and to grow some other programs that are needed here in the county.
Okay, I hate to say this, but I hear everybody else pretty good, but on your end, it's a little choppy, but maybe that's just on my end. I don't know if anybody else shares this.
Well, I think it could be a little better. I know it's a little distortion, Angela.
Okay.
I don't know what the problem is there.
Okay.
All right, I have a question if we're done with the audio point.
Go ahead, Mr. Robert.
Yes, so Ms. Harris, what I hear you not saying is basically my deduction, and that is that Vance Gravel Community College is willing to let us move our early college program on their campus and evacuate space under the agreement that in 5 years we build them additional facilities at the cost of the county. Is that in a nutshell correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in order to do that, what is that going to cost the county? What does this expansion look like? How many square feet is it? What's the cost? Because in commercial construction, a 5-year window from inception of thought to,
right.
to product is pretty much a 5-year window. So I would like to know some more, because I don't recall hearing any of that discussion when we were so eager back in the early part, as you mentioned, in February, of this board supporting moving forward with that. I was not under the understanding that there was this expectation of the county's taxpayers' money to build additional building or facilities on this campus. I'm pro-education, but I want to be told up front what these decisions mean when they're being begun, not as they get moved along. I want to hear what the total story is and what the total plan is. And I need it to be laid out in a way that it's very obvious, not where it's kind of discreet. And I've kind of gotten the impression here tonight that this has been a very discreet sidebar conversation, and we don't want to say what I just said, which is they're allowing us to move into their building so that we can build them a building. And I don't mean that viciously, but that's the reality of my takeaway here.
And let me,
Hold a second. Hold a second, Angie. Have we lost Mr. Foy?
Yes. Yes. Coy has sent me a note. We've lost.
I think we've lost Mr. Foley.
Need to pause for
Is he coming back, or is he gone?
We need to pause to reconnect.
Yeah, why don't we pause for a moment?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
let's just take just a quick recess until Commissioner Foy has a chance to dial back in.
All right.
Then I'll address the Commissioner Shriver's issue.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can we get a motion for a recess?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
Second, moved by Mr. Bunn. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Second by Mr. Speed.
yes.
Take a 10-minute, Kristen. Okay, she's gone. Okay.
Maybe just a 5-minute recess.
Okay, 5 minutes. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, so ordered. All right.
It actually said an addition. I didn't make that clear.
If you do want to mute us, you can just Google the thing and mute us. I feel like you need to.
All right. All right.
Okay, Mr. Foy, we got Mr. Foy back. Mr. Foy, we're on a 5-minute break now, waiting for you to come back, okay? So we'll hold on just for just a second.
Well, like I say, that's not the first time this has happened. And it probably won't be the last.
Okay. First time for what happened?
This computer keeps on shutting down completely.
Oh.
I have to go through the whole login procedure and bringing
Okay.
everything up. No, I don't know why. This is the county laptop, so maybe that explains it. I don't know.
Okay.
Didn't you get a new one like we did here?
Do what? Are you talking to me?
Yeah, didn't you get a new laptop?
I don't know if it's new, used. It's one that Coy brought down. He had to replace one of them already. So you tell me.
I don't know. I hadn't seen yours.
I don't know. Ask Coy.
I would think, yeah, the problem is probably more with the infrastructure than it is with the device.
The infrastructure. Okay. You.
Wi-Fi.
I don't even think I'm running off Wi-Fi. I'm running off a cable. I'm hooked right directly into it. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean.
Okay. Is everybody back?
Yes, sir.
All right. The motion to go back in open session.
Move.
Mr. Jones, move.
Looks like we might have lost Mr. I'm sorry, never mind. That was Coy. I was looking for Mr. Foy. There he is.
Okay, yes. Okay. Move the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're back in session now. We'll go back to County Manager Harris to respond to Mr. Shriver.
Yes, sir. The specific request was for an addition to Building 5 within the 5-year period. So it would, that would entail some discussion as to how large that addition is expected to be. And that's the type of information that hopefully we can bring back to you on your May 4th meeting. But it's not a whole new separate building.
So I guess what would be helpful is to have some type of written documentation of what we're really embarking upon, and not a recollection from a couple months ago a meeting or a 5-month ago meeting where this board agreed to something. But to get something from you, the county manager, stating this is the plan, this is the program A to Z. You know, they're going to allow us to do this. They're going to put their staff in our building. They're going to lease that building for 5 years, the dollar amount of X per month or annually, whatever that is.
Right.
And their expectation is for us to produce an addition of 10,000 square feet or whatever the square footage is at a projected cost of Y for the purpose of housing 5 offices, 2 classrooms, a laboratory, a whatever that may be. And that's going to cost, projected cost, not today, but in 5 years, what that cost is going to be.
Right.
So that as we move forward and govern the people's money, we're making decisions on a complete understanding of what we're moving forward to, and not just one step at a time being known, but all steps being known when we begin the first step. So I don't want to walk into this agreement and move our children onto the campus without all these particulars being defined. I don't think that's very smart of us from a business perspective as county leaders to just kind of walk through this as we get there to each stop, but to know what each stop looks like and what each party is agreed to do during these stops to the finish line. So I would enjoy having something like that we can all have an understanding, clear understanding, and not a reflective moment from months past.
Okay.
Does this sound reasonable?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you
And
for that.
hopefully, that will be included in your presentation for May 4th. I'm just giving you a precursor to that tonight.
I just know we have so many needs in our current schools, buildings as they are now. We've got a lot of things we've been putting money into to help them replace roofs and HVAC systems and these things that are going on. We've got a lot of growth within the county that's here and that's coming. We've got a brand new, beautiful high school at Franklinton High School, amazing facility that is one breath from being over occupancy. And we're not talking about that. And I think we need to weigh those needs along with a need like this. You know, I mean, just so that we can make the best use of what we have at the time we have it.
All right.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Harris. Thank you, Mr. Shriver. Item 6 on the agenda is update for radio project. Ms. Harris?
Yes, sir. And we have joining us tonight, Mike Axford with Harris. We also have Nick Tusa, our consultant, that are available for any questions that you have. The board, in its demand letter on February 17th, had outlined specific defects that needed to be corrected, and a date was set of April 30th. Those deficits or defects were outlined, and with the timetable of the 30th, work has been done, and our consultant, Nick Tusa, has provided the board a 3-page report in the form of a letter, giving you an idea of what corrective measures that have been undertaken. In the public comments earlier tonight, it was noted that there were changes that had not yet been noticed out in the field. Some of that is because the radios have yet to be had software and hardware changes made to them. Harris was boots on the ground starting this week out with fire departments, we had 2 fire departments where the radios were made, adjustments were made. And throughout the last couple of weeks, they have developed corrective software for some of our XL200 radios and have a hardware change that our radios will have to be updated. So this is going to require hands-on. They have worked to identify UV lighting so that they can sanitize and work in this environment. But the consultant, Nick Tusa, has made it clear that they have made progress on the items 1, 2, 4, and 5 have been resolved in large part. Some of the items that were listed will require work that has to be done in the next couple of weeks. Mr. Tusa recommended, in light of COVID-19, which is the primary driver here and the delay in the schedule, that we move the date out for work to be completed to June 8th, and then he will inspect the work and would like to ask for a June 19th final deadline from which work can be inspected. I provided you a copy of a letter, and we'll make this available for the public as well, of Mr. Tusa's report of all the work that has been done to date and with the schedule of the different departments that they will be in over the course of the next few weeks. He and the staff, at the staff level, we feel like that recommendation is warranted in light of COVID-19. And again, Mr. Axford with Harris is here, and Nick Tusa is available also, our consultant, for any specific questions that you may have.
Does anyone have questions?
Yes, I have one. The 2 radios that you speak of that have been worked on, do they belong to Centerville Fire Department? I understand that they have been without 2 radios since December.
They worked in 2 fire departments today, but I'm not aware of 2.
That was 2 warranty repairs. So the radios malfunctioned. We had to send them off to Harris to be repaired. My understanding was 1 came back and 1 is still being repaired, I believe.
Ms. Sharon said 1 she understands has been returned, Commissioner Speed, and 1 is being repaired.
And a spare radio was provided to them.
And I will say that the work schedule for their infield activity that started today, they were going to the departments that were experiencing the worst audio distortion or drop calls. They were trying to get to those first, implement the fixes that have been identified, and let that be the, truly the test, those that were having the most difficulty.
Okay, would that be Epsom, White Level, and Justice? They're the ones that I get the most complaints from.
Yes, sir.
Epsom and Mitchners were done.
Epsom and Mitchners were done today.
White Level done later this week.
Yes, sir. And could you hear me?
How about White Level and Justice? I receive a lot of complaints from that area.
Yes, sir. White Level later this week, and Justice. Hold on 1 second. I'll look at the schedule just a moment.
And the schedule's attached to their letter.
Yes, and I did send
White Level on Thursday, Justice on Friday.
Justice on Friday, sir.
Tomorrow's Gold Sand and Centerville.
Tomorrow's what?
Gold Sand and Centerville.
Who's speaking here?
I'm sorry, Christy Sharon, our communications director.
That's Christy? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Voice sound a little distorted there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
How much more time are they asking for? You may have said it, Angela, but I couldn't make it out.
Yes, sir, to June the 8th for the work to be completed. And then June 19th, between the 8th and the 19th, for our consultant to inspect the work.
Okay.
A question.
No, yeah, no disrespect to our consultant, but you know, the work is going to be inspected by the personnel in the field. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
And then what do we do then?
Well, we asked our lawyer sitting over here what we did.
That's when we get Nick, and we'll send them the other end of the demand letter that we sent them back several months ago, and then we'll say you have not complied with our demand letter. But you got to realize, if we decide to sue them, there was a letter saying, well, we're going to sue them for $11 million. And this could take months. It's taken us 5 or 6 years just to get to where we are. Someone said put in Viper, but Viper has the same type of problems that Harris has, from what Nick says. So
let's even get, let's hold a minute, Pete. See if we can get Harry back, Coy. Go ahead, Pete.
But I mean, that's a real problem when you get into. We can't afford to do without the Harris system because it's in there. You can't just pick it up and throw it out and have Viper put in. It would have to be designed, put in. It takes years to put these things together. So we're going to end up having to sue Harris, but to make them comply with what the contract is.
Madam Vice Chair. Shelley.
I just wanted to verify with Ms. Harris that the reason they're asking for the extension is because of the virus. Is that what they said?
That was the information that our consultant gave us, that there was a delay substantially because of the COVID and the travel restrictions and the federal guidelines and just getting into the field. In fact, locally, we have some departments that wanted to have these changes made a little bit later instead of having personnel coming in even now here in the county. So we're trying to work with everyone's schedule, but Nick felt like a reasonable time frame in light of the delays associated with COVID would be June 8th.
Mr. Chairman.
And then the last time we met was March the 16th, is that correct? And we specifically asked them to go and talk with our departments in the northeast part of the county. Have they done that? I mean, I know, Christy, you said tomorrow's Gold Sand, and I think you said Centerville. But have there been outreach before then? I mean, since March the 16th, it's been a month.
Yeah, this is Mike Axford. Yes, those meetings did take place, and a report was sent into the Board of Commissioners on March the 20th.
Okay, so this is a second round. Is that what you're saying, Christy?
Well, that wasn't Christy responding. That was Max responding.
No, I mean earlier, Christy.
What they're doing now is actually going out and modifying the radios, changing the hardware in the mobile and the software in the portables.
These are the fixes.
The fixes in the.
Mr. Chairman. Just a minute, Mr. Schreiber. Mr. Jones.
Thank you. 2 questions, one for staff and one for Angela. The first question is, in light of COVID-19, is it possible for them to be at this stuff completed by June 1st meeting for us to make a decision then about whether to go forward with any more liability?
Would it be possible for them to attend our June 1st meeting, the first meeting in June?
No, to come back with a completion on June 1st instead of June 8th.
Right.
The way that the schedule works and the work it will take till June 8th to get to all of the radios. can only do so many radios in a day. So you're looking at least 6 to 8 weeks to get around to every radio in the county.
That being said, will you be coming back on June 8th asking for more time?
Mike Axford's gonna have to ask that.
Yes, Mr. Axford will have to answer that question, but
Well, I'll wait for the answer.
we're expecting it to be.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand the question. Could you please repeat it?
The question is, you say you need to June 8th by you and Christie to finish the work. I'm saying, is that absolute deadline June 8th, or will you be asking for more time after that, based on COVID?
Based on our schedule, that's where it's dropping out right now. So that's what we're hoping to get completion by. Yes.
And the COVID-19 is not an inferior to that schedule that you have, Mr. Axford.
Well, who knows what's going to happen moving forwards, you know? I mean, we've tried to take extra precautions over and above what is being required by the CDC in terms of safety. It was mentioned earlier on that we have worked with Williams Communications to get some additional UVC sanitization lights to try and sanitize the interior of vehicles before we have people go in them. So all of that, it took time. You know, I think the processes that have been put in place and documented to the county certainly are taking into account the need to be extra careful. And I think we are taking an approach that is accelerating the way that we can try and do these radio repairs with minimal risk. But of course, if things change, then the schedule may change.
Let me raise a question with you, Mr. Axford, going back to the question that was raised by Commissioner Speed. And as I heard the discussion from the staff, is that did I hear that there are 2 radios that you had, Mr. Axford, in your possession since December?
That's the first I've heard of it. In fact, I tried to comment, but I was muted at the time. Yeah, Christy, if you get me the details of those, I'll chase them up. I did text the folks that would have been involved with it, and they don't believe that we have any delayed return material authorizations, but I'll be happy to check into that for you.
Well, what do you say about that, Christy?
They were given they were given a loaner radio when we send them off for repair like that.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
They were given replacement radios when they were taken out of service to be repaired. So they had 2 radios as replacement. They just hadn't gotten the new ones, the original ones back, I think is what she was trying to.
Did they have those since December?
No, one has come back since then. The other one was shipped off after that. I don't know if that one's back yet. I'll have to find out from Brian.
Is that the word that you got, Mr. Speed?
That's just what someone told me.
All right. Okay. All right. Anyone else?
So what's being asked for the extension? Wasn't it supposed to go to, or what am I hearing? Because some of the Angela Harris block, I can't understand, but anyway.
Yes, sir. That the board agreed to extend till June 8th, the deadline for the work to be completed, and then June 19th for TUSA and county personnel to provide a complete inspection and evaluation of all work product.
Now, Angela, I don't believe the board has agreed to that yet.
No.
That's the request. That's the
That's the
request.
recommendation you're making.
So if they're not, if they don't have it by June 8th, what do we do then? Just give another extension, or
That was my question.
Huh?
That was my question earlier.
Mr. Point, I would suggest that I'll get with Nick and we'll go ahead and start formulating a plan that if they do not have it completed by then, so we'll have the next step ready at that time.
legal action?
And that way we'll have something on the table to present to you.
Mr. Chairman.
Now let's be clear about this, Mr. Ford. The recommendation was that that they will have the correction by June 8th, and that Nick Tusa will be given, as I understand it, was it June 18th?
June 19th, yes, sir.
June 19th to verify that the corrections have been made. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did you get that, Mr. Ford?
Yeah, I hear the June 18th. Yeah, and I just still wonder if not then, if everything's not fixed by then, what's our next step? Hopefully,
Mr. Chairman.
something a little bit more aggressive, I hope.
Yes, sir, Mr. Schreiber.
I would just suggest that if we're going to discuss our next step, potential steps, that be done in closed session.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, I agree. All right.
I do have one question, and I apologize for the late request, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman.
Yes.
I've been told that there is already Viper radios in county vehicles, i.e. some or all of our ambulances. Is there any fact to that?
Yes, there's a Viper radio in every ambulance. That's how they communicate with hospitals throughout the state.
Okay, so they have a Viper radio in their ambulance that allows them to talk throughout the hospital chain.
Yes.
Do they have any problems in making those communications in the northeast quadrant of our county using these Viper radios to communicate with whatever hospital they're attempting to communicate with, similar to that which we were experiencing otherwise?
Not to my knowledge, but typically they're en route to the hospital and probably within 10 minutes of the hospital when they're using them. So I can't say for sure that those transmissions are done in that area.
Has anyone given any thought to taking an ambulance that may be out of service or not actually a primary responding ambulance that's got a Viper radio and ride around the northeast part of the county and try and see if they have effective communications through this Viper product?
We have Viper radios through the communications center that we could likely do that kind of testing.
I think it would just be curious to see, because I'm familiar with both, if the Viper really has a superiority in the areas where we're experiencing such difficulty, because that to me is, that test in of itself will speak volumes.
I would be limited to not be able to test indoors. I would only be able to test outdoors.
Well, you could go in, and then I don't mean this crudely, but I mean, you could go into convenience stores or, the EMS stations or the fire stations possibly, and get in some of these metal buildings to see if you can, see what kind of communication you have there. I just think it would be worthy of maybe not our primary thing, but while we're out and about, maybe to take in the opportunity to do a radio test to Raleigh or Wake Med or whoever, we used to call a radio check, and they'll come back 10-1 or 10-2, either you're good or you're not. I mean, that's just my limited experience, 20+ years in public service.
Okay.
Thank you.
That I would certainly recommend, Krista, that you exercise that test. If that's something that you can do here on the ground, then I would certainly recommend that you do that. Because obviously we can't depend on Axford to do what he's supposed to do. So if you would do that, that would be good. Okay. I didn't get a response.
Yes, sir. I'll take care of it.
All right. Thank you.
I can't.
Well done, Chairman.
All right. Any other questions about the radio system? Mr. Ford, did you have some?
No, I don't have any further questions. Just hopefully it gets fixed here soon.
Okay. All right. Item 7, other business.
Commissioner Dunston.
Yes.
I do want to make sure that the board is amenable with those.
Okay. Extensions.
Yes, sir.
All right. What's the pleasure of the board on extensions?
I move to approve.
I get a second?
Thank you.
Moved by Mr. Shriver, second by Mr. Bunn. Any questions? No questions. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay.
No.
Okay. We have one no. Mr. Speed is a no. Ayes have it, and so ordered. All right. We move to item number 7, other business.
Mr. Chairman, I have a topic to share, discuss.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I'd like to have a little dialogue with regards to the curfew. I've had several phone calls regarding the implementation of our curfew, which occurs, I believe, from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. if I'm not mistaken. I try to explain to some of our citizens that when we go into a state of emergency, when the federal government declares and when the state governor declares a state of emergency, there's certain protocols that come into play that are indirectly mandates by the federal government that if we don't enact certain things, we're not eligible for FEMA support dollars or other federal support dollars. And so it's important that we follow along these certain unspoken guidelines in order that we can protect our citizens and our county treasury by being eligible for these federal fundings and state dollars that sometimes come from the federal government down to the state, and then from the state we solicit for our portion of support. And so I wanted to know if enacting the curfew, because that was a question that came back to me and I didn't know the answer to it, was this curfew that we implemented, does it in any way, shape, or form make us ineligible for any type of federal dollars or state monies that may be out there that we could use to better support our county and our citizens?
Okay.
Can anyone answer that for me?
Ms. Harris, would you like to address that at all?
Yes, sir. I'm not aware of the curfew causing any ineligibility. The recommendation that was discussed and recommended at the EOC level and the sense of urgency surrounding it had to do more with containing the spread of the virus and saving lives.
Sure.
Sure,
I understand.
And I can address it from my perspective, Mr. Shriver, is that, and contrary to reports that you may have seen or heard on social media.
I don't do social media, so I don't get my information there just without,
No, I'm not speaking this just for you, Mr. Shriver. I'm speaking this for everybody who's on social media, okay? You may not do it, but a lot of your constituents.
Several others do.
Yes, exactly, okay? The fact of the matter is, it was that in the week that the curfew was implemented, was a week that our case numbers tripled, if you will. And the fact that the emergency executive order number 121 had been issued by the governor, and the reports that we had received from the sheriff and his deputies about gatherings that were around the county in the parking lots of the shopping centers, in food trucks having house parties in subdivisions, and those things that he addressed. I felt that it was in the best interest of the welfare of saving lives in Franklin County that the 9 to 6 would be the most amenable curfew that we could implement to save the lives of the citizens of Franklin County. Now, if indeed that if those reports had not come back that the shelter in place orders were being violated, if they had not been violated, then of course the curfew would not have come into the picture.
I understand. The second thing that I wanted to share, and you shed a little light on that with your comments, and I respect them, because I did also share with people that once the state of emergency occurs, a lot of additional responsibilities fall on our chairman. Yeah. And they become a single decision maker, and they're given a lot of information because there's so much there that you're kind of the one that's receiving all of it. Yeah. And then you've got to make that independent decision, and that's why you're our chairman. Yeah. And so I thank you for all your hard work, because I know it's not been easy. This has been a very long 3 or 4 weeks for you. So absolutely. So much for your honeymoon sail tour. For us military men, we understand that. So the one thing that I want to point out here, because this is what I've not heard tonight, is that none of the scenarios that have been offered, including yours regarding some of the neighborhood gatherings and the food trucks and things like that. And none of the scenarios that Mr. Levine, our health department, our health director, has shared, none of those events or activities have occurred during the 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. timeline. All these are more daytime, 5, 6, 7 o'clock timelines. So I just wonder if we need to adjust this curfew and make it have more teeth or more impact. A, B, do we even need it at all? Are our numbers, while they're unfortunate, are they so proportionally not risen that this may no longer be necessary? Curfews in a lot of locations, in the research I've went online and found, they state that they're very, very effective in highly trafficked urban areas. And we obviously all know that. If where there's density, that's where a concern really is, to this stay in place is so critical, because people traffic the same exact places the moment they walk out of the door of their home, wherever that is. And in Franklin County, we're not an urban area. We are a pretty much rural community of 60-some thousand people. So I just want us to think about what the effect of this curfew is, if it really has traction at this point moving forward, or at what point does it no longer have traction? And again,
well,
realizing that you have an enormous amount of information that's not been shared, to us. I respect your decision to do it. I just want to ask, is this something we need to continue to do, and if so, for how long?
Well, I think that Mr. Levine made that clear, and if the numbers that were published, of course, are early on in this process. If we did nothing, that we could expect half of our population to indeed be affected by the virus. That in itself. So in order to be able to address those issues and those predictions that might happen, even in rural Franklin County, those numbers to me are frightening, to think that half of our population could indeed be affected and be diagnosed with this virus. Now, I certainly look at the situation under the same principle that if I had the flu and I was given a 20-day supply of antibiotics, and all of a sudden after 5 days I started feeling better, that I stopped taking it. Well, I don't think that would be very smart on my part. Nor do I think at this point, from 9 to 6, you say that didn't affect the people that were gathering, but I challenge that. Those were some of the times that people were gathering, was doing those actually from 6 to 6. But we looked at it, and in order to make it less intrusive, the 9 to 6 hour I felt was more appropriate to try to eliminate those people who were gathering in those places that were not good for them.
Well, so the gathering, if the gathering is the issue, which I keep hearing that come up, and I agree, we don't need people hanging out in groups during this time and then going and hanging out with another group tomorrow and spreading whatever may be there. Is there something we can do to create some type of ordinance or governance under this state of emergency that would give our law enforcement the ability to disperse and disband a gathering without saying that at 4 o'clock in the morning, someone gets off work, or an EMS worker gets off, has a long shift and stays out. A state trooper arrests somebody at 12 o'clock at night for drunk driving, and they're supposed to be going home at 1 o'clock. Well, now they're processing that person. They're not getting off till 3:30 in the morning. They haven't had dinner or anything else, and they can't stop even at a convenience store because at 9 o'clock they're even closing because we have a curfew says you shall not.
No.
Do we have another tool other than a blanket tool
No.
that says every citizen, regardless of who they are or where they are, shall not? Do we have another tool in our toolbox that we can use to manage this gathering issue?
That's not what the order says. The prevention is if you're going about your work, if you are performing a duty, a work duty, then yes, this doesn't affect you at all. But if you are just gathering for a social gathering, and it's been determined that social distancing is the only method that we have against this virus that we know of now. Okay, so to say that the example of the highway patrolman or whoever, but if you're going about, and I received calls, of course, the first week, and as I explained to one of the gentlemen that called, if you're going about your task, your daily task, your essential business, your way of making a living, then there's no issue with that. The idea is to try to prevent those persons who were not obeying the executive order in the first place for gathering at times that it was felt that it would be less intrusive, less intrusive to a person's personal life. So that was the reason that was.
Sure.
Yes, Ms. Dickerson.
Yes, I just want to say I agree with Dr. Levine. I don't think it's time to abolish our curfew or to change it anyway at this point. I'm with him in that we're looking for the least way to be invasive. We're not looking to try to enforce people. We're trying to nudge people in the right direction so we can prevent some of these large social gatherings, small social gatherings. Like you said, just meet somebody at the mailbox. It's something that you don't think about. I have children, 2 of them are teenagers, and sometimes teenagers need to be nudged in the right direction. I don't post a whole lot on social media, but I read a lot, and there are a lot of our young people out there that are still getting together, whether it's small or large social gatherings, and they need to be nudged in the right direction so they can see that this virus is serious.
Mr. Blind?
Yes, sir. I also respect your authority in this situation in the state of emergency that we're in. One thing that I would like to see, if it's possible, is for us to be notified in a way different than email at 4:45 on a Friday afternoon for something that's going to take effect on Sunday at 9 p.m. with our constituents bombarding us with questions, and every one of them thinks that we're sitting here and we voted on it, we did this and that. It doesn't give a lot of time for businesses to prepare letters for their essential workers because they're scared they're going to get pulled over or whatever. Something as simple as a text or a phone call or anything else. I heard it on the news before I knew we had a curfew even going into effect. I just I believe it could have been handled a little bit different as far as getting the word out to us so we wouldn't get bombarded.
All right. Okay. Well taken. Mr. Speed?
Yeah, I was just going to add a little bit to your statement concerning those that are not affected. It would be people getting food or pharmaceuticals or medical care are also not affected by this curfew.
But stores are closing because of the curfew at 9 o'clock. So you can't get food, you can't get fuel, you can't get the pharmacy.
No one has instructed a store to close.
Well, I understand. We didn't instruct anybody. We just placed an order out, and this is the community's part of the community's understanding of it. And I realize we can't help everybody understand everything, but in the same respect, this is the message that they're perceiving. So if we need to clarify that, maybe then, that would be good too, to help.
Well, it's definitely clarification if that's needed. Definitely no one who is engaging in their employ, okay, which stores would be, is indeed in any way expected to stop performing their responsibilities as it relates to
So
their
in,
employee.
yeah, so in the order, it didn't say that non-essential businesses are ordered to close during these times?
No, no, not at all. As a matter of fact, the curfew was actually in line with the executive order 121.
Right.
And what it said. And that's why it ran along those timelines.
Sure, it's understandable.
Okay.
Well, I guess that just goes to show you need to, you know, communicate with other people on actions taken, you know, maybe some of these misconceptions could be avoided.
Well, Mr. Ford and the rest of the board and the citizens, I take full responsibility for that. But you gave me when the emergency orders were issued, you gave me that responsibility, so I took it. Okay? All right.
No, I don't want this to sound like I'm not supporting you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not. It's not a matter of not supporting you.
Okay.
It's just a matter of learning a little bit more and getting a better understanding so that we can then, or that I can then answer these questions well informed.
I can appreciate that. Absolutely.
Well informed, you know, and so maybe one takeaway is segue in with what Commissioner Bunn said is if we're going to take some of these more critical steps, that maybe there's information that's shared with us that maybe you had to be able to form that decision that helps us communicate your decision better.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm all about being supportive of our group, yes, without question.
Absolutely. Okay. Be glad to share that with anyone. And some of you call me, of course, and we explain our position to you. And if others of you called, I would have done the same thing with you. Okay.
Very good. And rightfully so, I did not call you.
Yes, sir. All right. Any other business? All right, no other business, then we'll go move to item number 8 on the agenda, board manager and clerk comments. Is Madam Clerk here today?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to thank our commissioners and thank our entire staff for pulling together this meeting. We've done a lot of information gathering, a lot of testing, a lot of practices, and I think for the most part, the meeting went well tonight. I expect that our next meeting on May 4th will most likely be held in the same fashion. And at some point in the near future, we're going to have to be discussing budget sessions and that type of thing and how we want to go about those meetings in the midst of COVID-19. And so we'll be bringing forward those recommendations soon, I'm sure. But just really wanted to express my appreciation for our entire staff for working together. As you all know, every decision that's been made by our leadership has sometimes had to be made very quickly. And so I just appreciate that because I know it's been very stressful. But I certainly appreciate our IT staff tonight for pulling all of this together for us, helping us to broadcast the meeting on YouTube and providing every option that we could provide so that the public could view the meeting tonight and to also offer their public comments and to be informed. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much to Coy Floyd and to Barry Thorpe for pulling all of this together tonight.
And thank you, Kristen King, for all that you've done in pulling this together tonight. Certainly,
yes,
you
sir.
have been very diligent and very effective, and to the IT team as well. Mr. Ford?
Yes, the only thing I'd like to make comment on in these last 30 days, 60 days, I've heard so many conflicting stories about the coronavirus and everything from masks to no masks. I've kept all 3 stores running clear till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Been in contact with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Myself, I work at the registers at all 3 stores, and we can't always maintain 6 foot of distance when you're trying to take money from somebody. But I thank the Lord for looking over us.
How about receive money, Mr. Ford? Don't take it.
Well, I mean, you got to do it. You can't do it electronically. I mean, you don't even do that in Food Lines or Sam's or anywhere. You know what I mean? You still have to hand them money. You know what I mean? But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I've been around a lot of people, thousands of customers. And I go to many, many retail outlets every evening, picking up goods and supplies. Everything going just fine here, just fine. Sometimes I hope we can get out of this, you know, back to work, get things going, get back to regular meetings. I think if it keeps on going like it is, it's going to cause more harm than good. This country's got to get going, got to get back like it was. We can't stay like this. But like I say, I pray and for good health. I always have even before this, and hopefully will even after this. But it's my opinion. Hopefully this gets on over. We can suspend and get back to normal, because I think that's what this country and this state and this county desperately needs. That's all I have for right now.
Mr. Blunt?
The only comment I would like to say is I'd like to thank staff for making it possible. It's a pretty neat way to have a meeting, and I think everybody did a good job.
Thank you. Madam Vice Chair?
No comments.
Mr. Schreiber?
Just echoing the same praises that my colleagues have offered. It's good, and I'm grateful that we have a good team to put this together and to do, and our support staff does an excellent job.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Brief comment. I want us to make sure that we understand this is a very serious virus. It causes death. We need to be about doing all we can to save lives. I heard tonight about radio communication saving lives, vehicles, new saving lives, about emergency cars saving lives. So anything we do to save lives is important to citizens of Franklin County and the state of North Carolina and the nation. I too looking forward for us to get back to business, working, and our working class go back to work. They're important to me. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we are ready and able to do this at a time that is designated by people that are not smarter than me. We understand that we can move forward with a productive economy and save lives. Thank the staff and wish you all well. Safety.
Thank you. Mr. Speed?
No comments.
Madam Manager?
Yes, sir. I wanted to end on a very positive note and say how excited we were to hear the good news that the town of Lewisburg has been awarded a $2.4 million grant for their industrial park for infrastructure, water, sewer, and entrance and roadway improvements out at the industrial park. So hats off to the town for receiving from Rural Infrastructure Authority a $2.4 million grant. So very, very happy for them.
All right. Thank you so much. I want to thank Ms. Harris and her staff, those of you who are in the conference room there. Thank you for the great job that you've done to help also in the ability for us to pull off this Zoom meeting. As I said in the beginning of the meeting tonight, this is a historical moment in the life of Franklin County. We've never met this way before. And of course, we wouldn't, if it had not been for the coronavirus, we would not have ordered this meeting to be done this way tonight. But there are some things that you have to do when situations present themselves. No one in this world, I don't believe, ordered coronavirus to invade our nation, to invade our world. So the only way that we can indeed to address the issue is by following the recommendations of the science that indeed that would help us to prevent or to help us to rid ourselves of the virus. Now, this is a matter of life and death. Whether, I don't care if you have met 1,000 people and you haven't gotten the virus yet, your chances are that you might be carrying it. You don't know that. And so we try to do everything that we can. And I encourage everyone to do everything that you can. My prediction is, I believe that when this is over, I believe that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. And I believe that we are going to be even better as a result after this is over than we were before. So I thank each one of you for the confidence that you have placed in me. And I certainly take under advisement all of the suggestions that you've made as it relates to those decisions that were made I felt in the best interest of the citizens of Franklin County. Thank you again, and we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Shriver, did you make the motion?
Yes, sir, I did.
And who second?
Second.
Mr. Speed. Has been moved and properly second. Are there any questions? No questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and it's so ordered.
So
God
ordered.
bless you. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah, do you?
I would say